An emperor's prayer, a miraculous survival, and an empire lost and reclaimed. This is the extraordinary saga of Humayun, the second ruler of the mighty Mughal dynasty. His journey is a tale of fortune and misfortune, of betrayal and loyalty, of struggle and resilience. Today we uncover the incredible life of the man who fell from the highest throne, wandered as a fugitive, and returned to reclaim his destiny. Born in 1508, Nasir-ud-Din Muhammad Humayun was the eldest son of Babur, the conqueror of Hindustan. From a young age he was trained in warfare, administration, and diplomacy. He was intelligent, well-versed in Persian literature, and had a deep appreciation for astronomy and mathematics. Yet, despite his talents, fate would test him like no other Mughal ruler. In 1530, even before his reign began, Humayun faced death. A mysterious illness gripped him, draining his strength. Physicians failed, medicines were useless, and hope began to fade. In desperation, Babur did something extraordinary. He prayed, offering his own life in exchange for his son's survival. It is said that soon after, Humayun began to recover, while Babur himself fell ill. Within days, the great conqueror was dead, and the throne of Hindustan belonged to a son who had barely escaped the clutches of death. Humayun's reign began under the shadow of his father's greatness. He inherited a vast but unstable empire, stretching from Kabul to Bengal, filled with rival warlords and treacherous nobles. Humayun's first test came from Bahadur Shah of Gujarat, who sought to challenge Mughal authority. The young emperor launched a campaign, defeating Bahadur Shah and securing Gujarat. However, instead of consolidating his victory, he celebrated too soon. While he relaxed, his enemies regrouped. While Humayun was engaged in Gujarat, a far more formidable rival was rising, the brilliant military strategist Sher Shah Suri. Unlike Humayun, Sher Shah was methodical, ruthless, and patient. He was preparing for a war that would change Indian history. Sher Shah Suri was no ordinary adversary. Born as Farid Khan, he was a brilliant administrator and a master of guerrilla warfare. Unlike Humayun, who relied on courtly luxury and astrology, Sher Shah was pragmatic and disciplined. He spent years studying the weaknesses of the Mughal army and was now ready to strike. While Humayun enjoyed the splendor of his empire, Sher Shah Suri was preparing for war. His soldiers were battle-hardened, his cavalry swift, and his artillery well-equipped. He built a vast network of spies and strategically placed forts to control key territories. He was waiting for the perfect moment to challenge the Mughals. In 1539, Humayun marched to confront Sher Shah near Chausa. Confident of victory, he delayed his attack, giving Sher Shah time to prepare. This would prove to be a fatal mistake. Sher Shah, the master strategist, seized the opportunity. Under the cover of darkness, his forces launched a sudden assault. The Mughal army, caught off guard, fell into chaos. The battle turned into a massacre. The mighty Mughal army was crushed. Humayun himself barely escaped, plunging into the Ganges to save his life. With just a handful of soldiers, he swam to safety, but his prestige was shattered. After the disaster at Chausa, Humayun turned to his own family for support, but instead of loyalty, he found betrayal. Kamran, who controlled Kabul and Punjab, refused to send troops, fearing that Humayun's defeat would make him the rightful ruler. His other brothers, Askari and Hindal, were equally ambitious. Instead of aiding their emperor, they plotted to divide the empire among themselves. Despite betrayal, Humayun was not ready to give up. In 1540, he met Sher Shah again on the battlefield at Kanauj. This time, he was prepared, or so he thought. Sher Shah's army was superior in tactics and organization. His forces used trenches and war elephants effectively, outmaneuvering the Mughals. Soon, panic spread among Humayun's ranks. One by one, his commanders abandoned him. His once mighty empire crumbled before his eyes. And then, the unthinkable happened. Humayun, the emperor of Hindustan, was forced to flee. From a mighty ruler to a fugitive, Humayun's fall was absolute. For the next several years he wandered from one kingdom to another, seeking shelter. Some welcomed him, others turned him away. It was in the small kingdom of Amarkot that Humayun finally found temporary refuge. It was here, during his darkest days, that fate offered him a ray of hope. It was here that he met Hamida Banu Begum, a woman who would become his greatest source of strength. In exile, he found love. And soon, he would find something even greater, a son. In 1542, in the barren deserts of Amarkot, Akbar was born. the very son who would later restore the Mughal dynasty to its greatest heights. As Humayun wandered in exile, Sher Shah proved himself a worthy ruler. His reign, though brief, was one of the most remarkable in Indian history. He built roads, introduced a brilliant administrative system, and strengthened trade. Sher Shah's most famous legacy was the Grand Trunk Road, a vast highway that connected India from east to west. His efficient tax system, law enforcement, and military reforms laid the foundation for future Mughal success. Even Humayun himself later admitted that had Sher Shah lived longer, the Mughals might never have returned to power. For years, Humayun wandered as an emperor without a throne. His brothers betrayed him, his allies abandoned him, and his enemies crushed him. But in the court of Shah Tahmasp, the ruler of Persia, Humayun saw one final chance to reclaim his destiny. The Persian king saw an opportunity. By aiding Humayun, he could extend Persian influence into India. But the help came with a condition. Humayun had to embrace Persian customs and, at least symbolically, align with Shia Islam. With Persian support secured, Humayun now had what he had lacked for years: a strong army, powerful artillery, and experienced generals. But he needed more than weapons to reclaim Hindustan. He needed strategy, patience, and above all, the loyalty of his remaining followers. Humayun's first test came not from an external enemy but from his own brother Kamran Mirza, who still ruled Kabul. If Humayun was to return to India, he first had to defeat his treacherous sibling. Kamran was no match for Humayun's newly strengthened army. After a short but fierce battle, Kabul fell. But instead of executing his brother, Humayun showed mercy, a decision that would nearly cost him everything. Humayun's mercy proved dangerous. Kamran betrayed him multiple times before Humayun finally had him blinded and exiled to Mecca. With Kabul secured, Humayun turned his eyes toward Hindustan. Behind every great ruler stands a brilliant commander. For Humayun, that man was Bairam Khan. A seasoned warrior, Bairam Khan was more than just a general. He was Humayun's most loyal ally, his mentor, and the man who would later guide his son, Akbar. Bairam Khan reorganized Humayun's forces, blending Persian military precision with Mughal cavalry strength. His strategies would prove decisive in the battles to come. 15 years after losing Hindustan, Humayun finally returned with an army stronger than ever. But the throne was not yet his. The Sur dynasty still ruled under Sikandar Shah, the successor of Sher Shah Suri. Sikandar Shah, though not as skilled as Sher Shah, still had a formidable army. If Humayun wanted to reclaim his empire, he had to fight for it. The first major battle took place at Sirhind in 1555. This time, Humayun had the advantage: better trained soldiers, Persian artillery, and Bairam Khan's tactical brilliance. The Sur forces were no match for the Mughal resurgence. After a crushing defeat at Sirhind, Sikandar Shah fled, leaving Delhi vulnerable. Humayun's dream was finally within reach. 15 years after his exile, Humayun finally entered Delhi as emperor once more. The city that had once witnessed his downfall now celebrated his return. The Mughal Empire was restored. Humayun was not just a warrior, he was a scholar, a lover of art and science. But just 6 months after reclaiming his empire, tragedy struck. In 1556, while descending the stairs of his library, Humayun slipped, hit his head, and died a few days later. The emperor who had fought so hard to reclaim his throne was gone in an instant. Though Humayun's rule was brief, his legacy endured. His son, Akbar, guided by Bairam Khan, would become the greatest Mughal emperor, expanding the empire beyond imagination. Humayun's life was a testament to fate's unpredictability, a man who lost everything, yet never gave up. A survivor, a dreamer, and a ruler whose resilience shaped history.